the final chapter. I'm going to wrap it up for you, and thank you for having us. I'm Ginny Burley, and I, for 15 years, ran the after-school programs in Montpelier and the Washington Central Supervisory Union, so the donut in the hole in the middle of the donut, right in central Vermont. And I've recently left that position. I'm also the chair of the board of Vermont After School, and I'm just very committed to this field. So here's what I want to say to you today. I was also a member of the summer study group, whose report you got recently. When we got the chance to work on after-school and summer learning in the work group last summer, we chose equity and access as key issues, and here's why. For those of us who've worked in the field for a long time, in my case it's 15 years, we already understood the value and importance of expanded learning opportunities. We've seen the difference that these opportunities make in the lives of kids and families by using the third space that Terry talked about. If the first space where kids learn is in the home and family, that's where they all learn to speak, among other things. Second space is school, and the third space is all the time the kids are not in school. That's after school, weekends, school vacations, and summer. It's actually more time than kids are in school. What happens or does not happen in the third space makes all the difference in the ability of young people to achieve their potential. In the programs I helped develop at Community Connections, our priority was not to offer more of the same things that happen during the school day. We focused on enrichment, enhanced experiences, exposure to opportunities, and events. We let kids try new things, experiment without risk, like a high-stakes test, learn to fail, and learn how to deal with it and turn it into a learning experience. We provided caring adults, and they were not necessarily, in our case, licensed educators. They might be community members or artists or people with some kind of an expertise. We encourage inquiry, exploration, discussion, risk-taking in a safe and supportive environment. So when a kid is learning how to kayak and they suddenly find themselves upside down, there's somebody there to bring them right side up and then just sit down and say, so how did that happen? And what did you learn from being upside down underwater? It's all that processing, and that's where a lot of the learning. We also make sure that they know how to paddle and use their kayaks effectively, but there's so much else to learn. Positive youth development was our primary curriculum. It still is. While youth were learning the hard skills like cooking, rocketry, hip-hop, mural painting, chess, poetry, mountain biking, winter camping, and so much more, they were also learning leadership, persistence, grit, collaboration, problem-solving, empathy, and communication. At times I worried that I was not running many programs that directly addressed remedial academic skills, which was a strong recommendation of the Agency of Education. But the research in expanded learning supports my approach. The lack of competency in the social skills arena, the lack of exposure to ideas and experiences will get in the way of learning in ways that no amount of extra drill can fix. Although we did do homework club and that sort of thing as well. We chose equity and access as our focus in the summer group because while it was obvious that expanded learning opportunities bring great value and directly address the opportunity gap, also known as the achievement gap, it was equally apparent that there's great disparity in the way these opportunities are deployed around the state. The primary government-supported program is the 21st Century Community Learning Centers, 21C, was originally a federal program. When I first applied, I started out with the Fed. More recently, it's a dedicated block grant administered by the Agency of Education. In addition to 21C, there are licensed fee-based programs that can offer child care subsidies from the Department of Children and Families. For low-income families, you have to be very, very low income to qualify for those subsidies. And there's a huge sandwich in the middle who don't qualify and can't afford to pay. Fees can be as much as $20 per child per day, which is a lot. And this support ends at the age of 13. So where do the teens go? A few schools use budget or title money to support limited after-school programs, but we all know the pressures on school budgets. I happen to be in one of the highest cost per pupil towns in Montpelier, way up there. There are some free programs like the Scouts that depend on volunteers to deliver services. There are still some households where one parent stays home, although they are increasingly rare. And the experiences provided at home may not be those that will help bridge the opportunity gap. I have a bullet list of some of the systemic problems that prevent families from having access to a high-quality program near to where they live, work, or go to school. The competitive 21st century grant structure that exists right now favors communities that have good grant writers. It's a bureaucratic system, and there are some regulations that are pretty time-consuming. I've worked under federal 21C, state 21C, and licensed programs, and anything else that I could get my hands on, because that's what you do. The cutoff of eligibility for 21C at 40% does restrict access. If you have a town where you're at 38%, you still have a lot of poor families, but you can't even apply for that particular funding stream. The minimum threshold for eligibility disqualifies many small schools. I, for a few years, was putting together Union Elementary in Montpelier with Doty School in Worcester, and Union Elementary, their free and reduced price lunch fell below the threshold, and Doty by itself was too small to apply for, so they're out. Programs lose funding and discontinue, leaving nothing for families in that community. And the geographical distribution right now is fairly random. Many towns have nothing. Age is a factor in equity. As I mentioned, the subsidies end at the age of 13. There are relatively fewer high school programs. Sometimes that's because in many cases, as you get to high school, another parent's going back to work. There's fewer who are in the free and reduced lunch category. But it's also something about parents feeling that when you get to be in middle school or high school, it's okay to let you go home alone. And it's even okay to let you go home and babysit your younger siblings, even if you're in 4th grade, which is really not okay. And as we've heard, Mike said, Representative Ricky said, the hours from 3 to 6 are the highest risk hours for youth getting into trouble, substance abuse, truancy, crime, etc., both as perpetrators and as victims, unfortunately. And with the hodgepodge of programs, you saw the overlapping bubbles on Holly's chart. It's really difficult to find a system for consistency and quality and oversight because there are so many different masters. Even when we were working with DCF and 21C and the schools, we had to spend a lot of time traversing those things. It was definitely a challenge. So we know that the current system, with 21C and child care being the two biggest players, they brought opportunities to many children and families. There are thousands of more who would take advantage of a quality program if they could, if there were one available that was nearby and that they could afford. As a state, we would have better outcomes for our youth if these programs were more widely available. And the creation of this committee to expand and oversee a diversity of funding, supporting expanded learning opportunities is a critical first step, bringing all this to more variety.
So it occurs to me that this is as complex as our school systems are.
Nothing is as complex as our school systems.
Pardon?
This is a close second.
Yeah, close second.
Yeah.
Right. Which has got to create problems in terms of bringing it to every child. But so it also occurs to me that we have a pre-K through 12 advisory council, pre-K through 16, I'm sorry, advisory council. And you're the president of the after-school program?
The chair of the board of Vermont After School.
Vermont After School. What does this additional group bring to the table that these other two groups are not able to contribute?
Well, the statewide network, Vermont After School statewide network, is really focused on quality, training, professional development. It is not a grant-making organization, and neither is the pre-K through 16 council. So this is a new function, and one that nobody else has provided.
And the state, though, is making grants currently, right?
The state is making grants for 21st Century Community Learning Center grants.
Yeah.
That's only that one strand of all the complexity.
So why not just expand their grant-making authority? Presuming we can find money.
Yeah, and money can come from many different places. One of the concerns about expanding that role for the Agency of Education is that CF and the Agency of Human Services plays an equally key role, and I'm not sure how they could be included in an Agency of Education only committee, which is why we're looking at a committee with a composition that's much more diverse than